Hey there folks, this is Random Game Channel. This is the first time you'll ever hearing my voice. That's the first time for me. So I've started thinking that I should try doing some audio commentary on my videos. I've been thinking about this for a while. So my first video will be about 8 medic gameplay tips that I hope will help you improve being a medic in this game. Alright, so the first thing I want to go over is your primary weapon. This one, I still prefer the Morita over the new E-Pulse 44E2. Even though the range shows that it's like longer, I don't necessarily think it's actually true. Because at very long range, I still cannot hit a gunner bug, whereas with a Morita I can hit everything at any range. It just depends on how well I can control the recoil. So I'm a little 50-50, but I'm more leaning towards the Morita for that. With a secondary weapon, I like using the new E-Pulse pistol. It shoots pretty fast, it shoots pretty hard. The only thing though is that it has 0 stun and stagger. So what that means is the bug is gonna keep running at you no matter how many times you shoot it. So you gotta shoot it till it's dead kind of thing. If you don't like the E-Pulse pistol, you can always try the Emancipator. I've always used this in the previous version of the game. It really just stops a bug in its tracks, and it will buy you enough time to get out of that location, reload, heal up. So having the Emancipator is a nice secondary option if you don't like the E-Pulse. So now we're going to go into the utilities here, and the first one that you should really consider equipping is the first aid Stim dart. This thing's great because you can revive and heal troopers at at range, and you can do this to multiple people. So if there's like a mass casualty event, you equip this and you'll be able to get everyone back up on their feet relatively quickly. The next thing I like to use is the first aid Stim fabricator. What this will do is like it'll allow other troopers to pick up, depending on the trooper and the class, a maximum of 3 first aid Stims. This will allow like a little more autonomy for everybody, so they can track their health and heal themselves up whenever they need to, and it also takes the heat off you and makes your job a little bit easier because everybody now has the option to kind of be like a mini medic, because that first aid Stim will be able to revive other troopers at instant speed. Now the grenade, I never really liked anything else besides this MX90 grenade. It's almost instantaneous detonation. Of course there's that 3-second fuse timer, but it will kill bugs a lot quicker than say the chem grenade. This is more of a damage over time, so if you really want a dead bug right away, you're probably going to want to use the MX90. Now with the shock grenade, that one, it's okay. It's only going to stun them though, and it's not going to put any bug down for good. So that's kind of like my third option. I primarily like the MX90. Alright, so about the perks. The first one I really like is Bug Deterrent. This thing is so good because If you're next to another trooper, that arachnid, they're not going to attack you unless you shoot it or something and deal damage to it. Then it might turn around and try to eat you. So once you have this unlocked, it's very vital that you equip this. Just use it all the time. The next one is on your feet. This one's pretty useful for like when you're stuck in a bunker, like the inferno bugs are lining it up, and you can't really use the what was this called, the first aid stim dart, because the angle you can't really get a clear line of sight on them, or for whatever reason the medical drone can't get to the trooper. Using on your feet will allow you to quite literally shout at a trooper to revive them. The time it takes to complete the revival will depend on the distance, but it's still pretty useful in certain situations. The last one is the utility satchel. This will just increase everything here by 1. So you'll have more first aid stim fabricators on the field that the troopers can use, and you'll have more ammunition for the first aid stim dart. So pretty useful. The other one here that I don't quite use too much anymore is the magazine bandolier. Your job is not to really kill the bugs. Your job as a medic is to just make sure that the other troopers are alive, they're healthy, and anyone that gets downed, you pick them right back up. So you don't need to worry about having a whole bunch of ammunition. Now moving on to your special class abilities. These things kind of changed a lot from the older versions of the game. So the new thing here is triage. What this says here is basically the medic will if the medic is still alive, or even if they're downed, they're gonna allow troopers to bleed out a lot slower. I think I've seen this go up to like 40-50 seconds, so this will allow other troopers to get to down teammates, and hopefully this will prevent the reinforcement tickets from burning through too quickly. Because as we all know, those are very limited in number, and once those go up, then you have to get to the extraction landing zone, and hopefully everyone makes it there. The next really big thing I want to go over is the medical drone. So with the medical drone, in the older version of the game, this thing used to, when you activated it, it revived everybody around you. I think I remember hearing people say it was like a 40-meter radius. And also heal up everybody. And that was great and all, but all that's changed now in the current version of the game. So what the medical drone does nowadays is that you can use your mouse cursor to kind of like aim where you want to send the medical drone. And you can send it kind of far, but not like where you can go to the other side of the map. It's still got some short range to it. But now that they made this change, all you need to do, aim your mouse cursor, and then the medical drone will fly to that location and will take a couple seconds to revive the trooper. So that's just like the major changes with this drone. And yeah, so that's kind of what my loadout looks like. And yeah, so let's just take a second here to kind of go over my, I guess you can say the 8 tips that I have for you. So the first one that we just went over was having this particular loadout. This should enable you to, hopefully improve your gameplay once you have some of these things unlocked, right? And the second thing I like to go over is the medical drone itself. So some tips on how to use it, send it out, heal, not heal, but like revive those troopers. But you can kind of multitask. If, like, for example, 2 troopers are down, you can send a medical drone to pick one person up, and then you can use the first aid stim dart to pick up the second person. So there you go. That's going to allow you to stay out of combat, because your goal is not to fight all the time. Your goal is to keep everybody alive. So that's my second gameplay tip. And moving into my third point is environmental awareness in combat. This kind of draws back from my previous 10 gameplay tips for the game. So if you haven't checked that out, go ahead and do that. Because a lot of that stuff still translates very well to the new version of the game, which is the 0.7.0, but now it's 0.2 because there was that update recently. So what do I mean by environmental awareness and combat, right? So what that means is that you need to be on the lookout for downed troopers. You need to, be pivoting around a lot. Don't go into the rabbit hole where like you just want to kill the bugs. That's not your job. Medic's job is to make sure everyone's alive, that they're healthy, right? So you're not really going to be fighting 100% of the time. That's just not your role as this class. And the worst thing that you can do is that, someone just gets downed right next to you, but you never go and revive them because you're busy fighting. You can leave the fighting to the other troopers. And if you're kind of worried about, getting yourself killed by a bug, that's where the bug deterrent perk comes in. As long as someone else is alive next to you, there's a very high chance that you're not going to get, gulped by the bugs. So, do your job, heal the other troopers, and revive them whenever possible. Alright. So now we're going to move into tip number 4. Don't fight in the front line. Because once you go down, who else is going to be reviving, the other troopers, right? Let's think of this as like worst case scenario. What if there's no other medics but yourself? Your job is to keep everyone alive, but once you're dead, you can't do your job, right? So you want to leave the heavy fighting to the other troopers. Stay behind other troopers and kind of just watch their backs. They need healing, go ahead and heal them up with a first aid stim dart. And just make sure that you're, checking on the other troopers, turn around, check out how everyone's doing, and top off their health. Alright, so I kind of touched base on this next tip here already, which is using the medical drone with the first aid stim dart. So I actually do prefer to use the first aid stim dart a lot more than a medical drone. The reason why is because The medical drone, it takes a few seconds to, pick the trooper back up, once they're downed. And you'll find that in combat, that 3 seconds is a long time. So what I like to do is actually use the first aid stim dart just to get everyone up and going. But the thing you gotta watch out for is that it'll only revive them up to 50% of their health. So once they get back up, you probably need to help them get out of that situation, shoot some of the bugs, create some space for them to get to a safer location. And if you're out of those first aid stim darts, you can always use the first aid stims that you get from the first aid stim fabricator. But just keep in mind, you're gonna have to get in close to the trooper, and you have to be right next to them. But you shouldn't have too much issues because you'll have the bug deterrent on. So that's just some tips on how to revive some people, and the reason why I don't prefer using the medical drone. Medical drone is great because you can just set it to a location, run off to another location, and it will do its job for you. So that's like the only pro that I can see of using the medical drone. It'll help you multitask. Alright, so the next one, it's going into a little more detail about reviving troopers. So you need to know when to and when not to revive your downed trooper. So what I mean by that is if the downed trooper is just surrounded by a whole squad of other bugs, you probably don't want to revive them just yet. You don't need to worry about reviving them right away because of your triage ability. That'll let them live on for almost the whole extra minute once they go down. The reason why you don't want to revive someone that's like in the middle of a scrum, with other bugs, is because as soon as they get back up, if they can't get out, they're just going to go down again. And you're just going to be wasting your resources trying to revive the one trooper over and over again. What you should be doing is lining up the bugs with your Marita, your E-Pulse pistol, and use that grenade to create a big enough hole so that once you can revive them, they can get out of that location and get to a safer spot, right? So that's just a really important tip that you should keep in mind. And to go a little further on that is that, if for whatever reason the bug deterrent isn't equipped, or if you're the only trooper in that area that's still left alive, do you really want to go and revive that person when there's a whole gang of bugs next to them? Chances are you're going to go down with them, and what that means is that you're going to be costing the team 2 reinforcement tickets. So remember, reinforcement tickets are very limited, and once they're up, that's it, the game is done. And no one likes losing, right? So you want to win. You want to win and do your part to fight the bugs, right? So just keep those things in mind. I almost forgot to mention that if you look here, you'll see that I've been putting the first aid stim stations on top of the bunkers. That's actually a really good place to put all these different stations. I prefer that over, putting that on the ground, because where are the bugs going to be when they get inside the base? They're going to be on the ground. And what you can see here in the video, the other medics in this game, they placed them all on the ground. And that's not going to be a really safe place to, stock up on supplies. So whenever possible, do what I did and put these first aid stim stations on top of a bunker. Put them on top of a wall. Put them where troopers can safely get to those stations so that they can heal up. Alright, so we're moving into number 7 now. And that's going into even more detail about the medical drone and using the first aid stim dart and using the first aid stim packs. So a little bit more about the medical drone. You get 3 charges. And I think there's like a few seconds difference, or like I can't quite remember how many seconds is in between each charge where you can get another one back. But you can only use it 3 times at once, right? So just keep an eye on it. There'll be an icon on the top right of your UI or your HUD. You'll see 3 dots. They'll be like on top of the icon here out in the field. Just keep an eye on that. It'll help you keep track of how many times you've used it so far before it goes on a cooldown. Right? And a little bit more on the first aid stim dart. I think by default you get 10 shots on it. But I think with, what was it, the utility satchel, this goes up to like, I think maybe 20, 23. But we'll probably see this in the, the videos I have later. But the thing with the first aid stim dart is that it's really hard to aim with this thing. You talk to any medic and they will say the same thing. The best case scenario is that you and the target are standing absolutely still. But if both you and your target are moving, it's going to be a lot harder to aim this damn thing. But this thing works so much faster than a medical drone, right? It's almost instantaneous. So that's just a little thing you need to keep in mind when you are using the first aid stim dart, right? And the last thing with when you're trying to pull out the first aid stim packs from the fabricator, you're only going to be allowed to carry a maximum of, I think, 3 or 4 stim packs. So just keep in mind, you can't carry the whole thing in your pockets, right? I primarily like to save these stim packs to heal myself. So, let's just keep you alive longer. Use the first aid stim dart and your medical drone to go and revive the other people. Try to save these for yourself when you get hurt. Especially useful when you're in extraction. If you happen to run ahead of the troopers and you find yourself alone with the other bugs, just equip the first aid stim packs and just keep running towards the landing zone. Heal up as you run. That way you know that at least you lived. So yeah. Alright, so this is a great segue into my last gameplay tip, extraction. Alright, so you played the game, you survived this long, and now it comes time to get the hell out of there, right? So just make sure You go to ammo stockpile or whatever it's called, reload on everything. Your Merida, your E-Pulse, drop down another first aid stim fabricator, pull out your stim packs from it, and just be ready to go. So as you probably already know, the dropship will come down. Keep an eye in the sky for where it's going to drop down. And once that timer's up, make sure you move with your team. This way you can pick up people that get down as they're moving to the extraction point. It's probably not always a good idea to jump out of the base right away, because sometimes the bugs will spawn right there next to the wall. So make sure that the way is clear first. The worst thing that you can do is just jump right down in the middle of a bug zone, so just make sure you don't do that. The next thing is, once you leave the base, you're moving around, lots of bugs, you need to shoot and run at the same time. And sometimes you'll need to even run backwards while shooting to allow the other troopers to move up with you, or even just to save your own skin, right? So that's something you would need to practice on, running backwards and shooting. Just make sure you don't get stuck on a wall or anything. So run, turn around, shoot, keep running again, turn around, shoot. Repeat that process until you get to the extraction zone. Alright, so once you're at the extraction zone, it's not time to celebrate just yet. Sometimes troopers are taking a while to get to the landing zone for whatever reason. So just support the other troopers that are there, shoot at the bugs, give them enough time and space to get to the dropship, right? Because the more people that can successfully extract means you get more XP at the end, and that'll help with the whole grinding thing. So yeah, that's my 8 tips for the medic, and let's just see how well I apply this to this gameplay footage that I'll share with you.